The JFK conspiracy. Who killed John F. Kennedy? This is the question that Americans have been asking for years. According to Wikipedia, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was assassinated on Friday, November the 22nd, 1963 at 12:30 p.m. in Dallas, Texas, while riding in a presidential motorcade through Dealey Plaza. Kennedy was riding with his wife Jacqueline, Texas Governor John Connally, and Connolly's wife Neely when he was fatally shot by U.S. former Marine Lee Harvey Oswald, firing in ambush from a nearby building. The motorcade rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where Kennedy was pronounced dead about 30 minutes after the shooting. Oswald was arrested by the Dallas Police Department 70 minutes after the initial shooting. Oswald was charged under Texas state law with murder of Kennedy, as well as that of Dallas policeman J.D. Tippit, who had been fatally shot a short time after the assassination. At 11:21 a.m., November 24th, 1963, as live television cameras were covering his transfer from the city jail to the county jail, Oswald was fatally shot in the basement of Dallas, Texas headquarters by Dallas nightclub operator Jack Ruby. Ruby was convicted of Oswald's murder, though it was later overturned on appeal, and Ruby died in prison in 1967 while awaiting a new trial. After a 10-month investigation, the Warren Commission concluded that Oswald assassinated Kennedy, that Oswald had acted entirely alone, and that Ruby had acted alone in killing Oswald. This is the story that the American government has been feeding the American people for over 50 years. They have been teaching this lie in schools for over half a century, and the truth needs to finally be told. Today I will be discussing and giving you, the American people, some facts about the events that happened before the assassination that might be the reason for the assassination of JFK. Then I will be giving you information on so many so-called conspiracy theories about who could be responsible for the assassination. Finally, I will give you my own theory on who killed JFK and why I know that it was more than one man that killed JFK. Why would anybody want to kill the American president? First, let me begin with information about the events that happened before the horrible assassination of JFK. The first event that comes to mind is the Bay of Pigs. According to the website AmericanHistorama.org, the Bay of Pigs invasion occurred on April 17, 1961, when 1,400 CIA-backed Cuban exiles launched a botched invasion at a beach on the south coast of Cuba called the Bay of Pigs. The Bay of Pigs invasion was a disaster. By April 20th, 1961, 1,200 invaders were forced to surrender. President Kennedy, embarrassed and humiliated, had to negotiate a deal with Fidel Castro to release the prisoners. According to an article, How the Bay of Pigs Invasion Changed JFK, JFK felt that he could no longer trust the CIA, along with much of the foreign policy establishment he inherited, including the National Security Council. As a result of the disaster, Kennedy revamped the administration's decision-making process, and more importantly, the focus of decision-making moved from the CIA to advisors the new president trusted, including his brother Robert Kennedy, the Attorney General, and old friend Theodore Sorensen. The CIA and the National Security Council would be consulted, but they would no longer have total sway in the new administration. According to a website, jfklibrary.org, in 1961, the deteriorating political situation in Laos posed a serious concern in U.S. foreign policy when President JFK took office. Shortly before JFK's inauguration, President Eisenhower warned his successor that the effort was on the verge of failure and the U.S. military might need to intervene. Kennedy moved cautiously. He rejected a variety of proposals to send American forces and concluded that a negotiated settlement with the Soviet Union and other interested parties was the best he could achieve. A 1962 peace conference in Geneva produced a declaration on the neutrality of Laos and a three-port coalition government divided between pro-America, pro-communist, and neutral factions. These are just a couple of events that happened leading up to the assassination of JFK. Who had the resources and the power to pull off an assassination of an American president and get away with it? Well, there are many theories of who is responsible for the assassination of JFK. According to the website bugspace.com, you have the Lyndon B. Johnson conspiracy. A poll by Gallup in 2003 indicated that nearly 20% of Americans suspected Vice President LBJ of being involved in the assassination of Kennedy for political gain and power. The Warren Commission also accused LBJ of plotting the assassination because he disliked the Kennedys and feared that he would be dropped from the Democratic ticket in the 1964 election. LBJ and JFK apparently had words the day before the assassination. LBJ also played a big part in JFK going to Dallas in the first place. Then you have the mob conspiracy. The Kennedys were no stranger to crimes. In fact, many believe that the Mafia helped JFK steal the election in 1960 by securing the votes in the key state of Illinois. Jack Ruby, who killed Oswald, was a Dallas nightclub owner who some theorized had Mafia connections. Some even believe that the mob was working in collusion with the CIA to carry out the Kennedy hit. In a 2003 interview with James Files told his story of the Kennedy assassination. In the spring of 1963, James was approached by Nicoletti, who told him on a drive. On this drive, Nicoletti told James of a plan to assassinate President Kennedy. According to James, the plan had come from the CIA in Guyanacana, and Nicoletti was chosen to carry out the plan. James went to Dallas a week before the assassination. A day after his arrival at the Lamplighter Hotel in Dallas, Lee Harvey Oswald arrived at the hotel. Oswald and James shared the same controller, David Atlee Phillips, who was a CIA officer. James claims he chose the grassy knolls as his shooting location, wore a reversible jacket to look like a railway worker, and stored his weapon in a suitcase. He claims that when Kennedy had come right in front of him and he heard shots, he saw that no one had hit Kennedy in the head. James aimed for his right eye and firing the fatal shot. He said that he then packed the gun, bit the shell casings, and left the casing sitting on the fence and walked away. He further claimed that Oswald did not fire at the president or the officer Tippit. However, he never said who killed Tippit. James Files is currently serving a 30-year jail sentence for attempted murder of an officer. JFK's father, who worked with Sam Giancana in the bootlegging industry during the Prohibition, Giancana was supposed to testify about his role in the CIA assassination plot in 1975 when he himself was assassinated. And we have the Russia conspiracy. Obviously, there was tension between the two nations with the Cold War. Oswald had tried to defect the Soviet Union before. Some theorize that Oswald could have been acting as a KGB agent. And we have the CIA conspiracy. Alan Dulles, the former head of CIA, was on the Warren Commission, and CIA withheld information from the Warren Commission. Some feel that JFK may have found out that the CIA had plotted to assassinate Fidel Castro. The CIA felt that Kennedy might have a different agenda or even disband them, so they plotted to assassinate him. Another possible CIA motive is that after the failed Bay of Pigs invasion into Cuba, CIA underwent personal changes at the hand of Kennedy, which may have upset them. Cuban government conspiracy. Some intrigued scholars keep on asserting that Fidel Castro requested the death of Kennedy in reprisal for the CIA's past endeavors to kill him. These are just some of the theories of what happened and who might have overseen the assassination. There are many more theories out there, but these are some of the most popular. What would America be like today if JFK was not assassinated on that sad day of November 22nd, 1963? I think the best breakdown on who killed JFK is in the movie JFK. This movie shows all the different ways of who could have killed JFK and who had the power to cover it up. According to the movie JFK, Jim Garrison, District Attorney of New Orleans Parish, Louisiana, had a trial against Clay Shaw. Garrison believed that the right-wing activist Guy Banner, Shaw, and David Ferrie worked with the CIA to kill the president. It was also rumored that Kennedy wanted to dismantle the CIA for the Bay of Pigs incident in Cuba, giving a speech on April 21st, 1961, saying he wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the wind. During the trial of Shaw, Garrison was able to make a strong point, in his magic bullet theory. Garrison took note of how the Warren report claimed that one of the 3 bullets fired missed. The last bullet fired clearly hit Kennedy directly in the head, as seen in the famous Zapruder film, which Garrison showed for the first time to the public. I believe that the Warren report is incorrect in saying that Oswald acted alone in the shooting. I believe that Garrison was able to rule out the Warren report in his allegations. I also find it very unlikely that Oswald would have been able to get off those 3 shots in what the Warren report states, 7.1 to 7.9 seconds. Even if he was able to reload the rifle that fast, it would have taken him longer than that for him to take aim again. Based on allegations of James Files, I believe that it was the Mafia, the CIA, and the anti-Castro right-wing activists Garrison mentioned that were involved in the assassination. Ruby was a perfect man to kill Oswald. He had pulmonary embolism and died on January 3rd, 1967. So he already knew he wouldn't spend the rest of his life in jail. And that's according to Ruby's biography. I strongly believe that James Files and Charles Nicoletti were asked by the CIA to assassinate the president. James Files was currently serving a 30-year jail sentence for attempted murder of an officer at the time of the interview, so I don't think he had anything to lie about. I believe that Shaw, Bannister, and Ferrie's job was to provide the weapons and find someone to frame, and they chose Lee Harvey Oswald, who was a perfect man to frame. He was involved with the Soviet Union and Cuba, the United States' main enemies of the time. Also, Oswald had also tried to murder Major General Edwin A. Walker, so it was easy to believe that he was capable for murdering the president. And that's according to the Warren Commission. Files was standing behind the fence of the grassy knoll, and Nicoletti was in the Dowtex building. When Nicoletti was not able to get the shot off, Files took the fatal headshot. Oswald was caught and repeatedly claimed he was framed, and the Mafia had Jack Ruby kill Oswald. CIA would be forced to cover it up, because even though the Mafia carried out the assassination, the CIA formed the original plan. If they were to further investigate and prosecute the members of the Mafia that committed the murder, that the origin of the attack would easily be tracked back to the CIA. Bannister was already dead. When word got out through the press of Garrison's allegations, Ferrie became worried. Ferrie was killed by the Mafia to silence him. When Garrison's trial against Shaw failed, the Mafia, the CIA, and the anti-Castro right-wing activists successfully assassinated President JFK. So there you have it. I just gave you, the American people, plenty of facts about the events that led up to the assassination and theories about who was involved in the assassination. I also gave you my opinion and who I think is responsible for the assassination. It is up to you to do your own homework and research and find out the truth. Even if we never know who pulled the trigger, I think we could all agree that there was more than one shooter, and that would mean there was another person or persons involved. This must be one of the biggest lies that the government has been covering up in U.S. history. I could only wonder what else the government is hiding. Thank you.